Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Simpletin Podcast. And I'm your host, Timaine, aka Timian. And I've got with me the fantastic Simpleton team. Today, we'll be exploring a topic that we always discuss. And to be honest, I'm quite interested to know a little bit more. So I'll probably be listening a little bit more. And it's going to be about, do we really need data in today's world? And if so, what's the big deal about data analysis and wanting to hire a data analyst? So, yes, we'll be introducing the team as we normally do. So, yeah, over to you.
Hey everyone, my name is Osaze. I am the data insight analyst at Simpletin Consulting. Excited to be here.
Hello everyone, my name is Emmanuel Iwe and I'm the Management and Operation Consultant here at Simpletin Consulting. Good to have you here today.
Hello everyone, my name is Olise and I'm the project scrum master here at Simpletin Consulting. I'm really excited about this one and I'm looking forward to it.
So, today we'll be talking about an interesting topic which I really want to learn from. Is data really needed in today's world? And also, what's the fuss about data analysis and wanting to hire a data analyst? Over to you, Osaze. That question, what is actually data?
Okay, so I think in secondary school, when you do computer science, you kind of get that knowledge that data is unprocessed information. When they're teaching you about the computer system, you feed this.
Sorry, go back again. Unprocessed information. Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
So what does that actually mean for those who are not too techy? So what does unprocessed data mean?
Okay, so basically raw facts.
Okay.
Raw data. Okay. Raw facts. Okay. But now, when we're talking about data in the sense of data analysis, it has gone way beyond that. We're sitting out here today. He's sitting in a particular position. If he maybe moves his hands to his chin, that's data. That's body language. So data is not necessarily just quantitative. When the people think about data, think about numbers. You're increasing numbers in Excel sheet. You're getting stuff from SQL table. It has gone way beyond that. It's now a bit more quantitative and now qualitative. Say that body language, what someone says, how someone thinks, all that is data. So yeah, that's basically what I think about data. Now, is data needed? Is what our next question. Absolutely, data is it. I think the fact that as a human being, you're literally wired to analyze data. The fact that I'm sitting down here, when I move, I see a wall. So you look at a wall, you say, okay, that's data. You seeing that wall, you're saying, okay, what do I need to do? I need to bypass, I need to shift to take a step to the right so that I don't run into that wall. So you've seen that data, you've processed it, use that information to make a meaningful decision. So us as human beings, we're literally wired to analyze data every day, 247, which is good. And when you translate that into a business sense now, for every decision you're making, no matter how minor, yes, you can make decisions without data, but your decisions are going to be way more impactful and way easier when you have data backing it up. Because then you're not just doing it from maybe just your domain knowledge, you have like actual facts that are backing your decision.
Okay. So we'll come back to you on the bit of data analysis and whether or not there is a need for a data analyst in businesses now. But over to you, Emmanuel. So what's your take on data generally and whether or not this is needed in data analysis?
Okay, I mean, when Osaze was speaking, he literally said most of the things that I think about when you say data. Because yes, data is not just number. If you check the definition, they will tell you unprocessed or raw facts or raw files or numbers and all of that. But data is way beyond that. I would say that as a human being, we are always faced with data, information. And for each and every given situation we find ourselves, we need to be able to make decision off the data, that's information that we see. So that information that we are faced with, probably you're a family man, you are thinking, what school should I take my child to? You have a data of many schools around you, many schools all over the world. Now you need to analyze it. Who is my son? What are his skills? What kind of thing does he want to study in school? So those are things you want to check to investigate the data, to analyze the data, and help you come up with maybe 2 or 3 schools out of 40 schools to say
okay, these three schools are the best schools. And then you still go deep again to look further to see why are we going with this school.
So data is quite wide, and not to speak so much about it, it's basically raw information that when being analyzed could be used to make valuable decision, I mean to say.
Okay, I like that. I think we'll come back to something that you said, which is the bit about using it to make decisions. And the way you said that, almost that example almost made it look like everyone is a data analyst, which is what Osaze is kind of alluding to.
Exactly.
That the brain is wired in a way where you get to analyze data. But we'll come back to the question I'm going to ask. So remind me, if everyone can analyze data, surely not everyone is going to be good at analyzing data. Right? No, but just hold that, but just remind me.
Okay.
So, Olise, let's talk about your perspective. What do you think?
Just to point out, I'd like to get a little bit insight from what Osade said about data not just being about numbers. Like, for example, I own a coffee shop. The number of people coming in, the number of days, the day we get the highest number of customers, and the most popular product. This is data, and it's not just about numbers, about 1, 2, 3. It's about decisions and what people like and what people. And through this, we get to use this on improve services. Like you said, it's data driven insights to improve businesses and services. So it's just how I see data. Like, it's transitioning from not just being about numbers. I feel with like you said, it's a bit more. I feel with data we get to bring a sense from this and make better decisions. Like you said, data is unprocessed information, and when we can process this information and break out, I mean, it's a good mind, and it's with the birth of technology, I feel businesses are going to enjoy this one. Thank you.
Okay. So, I'm just going to read simply because I like to make it very basic, right?
All right.
So data is simply information, right? He says raw facts, which is what Osaze said, numbers, images, sound, text. So even sound is data. So I think the way Osaze had put it is pretty much anything that your brain can capture is data. Obviously, now we process data in certain ways by having forms where we collect it. So data and the way it's collected are two different things. So data itself could be anything and any sort of information, any raw, as it says, raw facts. So for me, I think that's basically how I see it. I see it as any information because I could be looking at you guys now. I'm looking at white top, blue top. I'm processing information. I'm looking at the way you're sitting down. If I watched you another time and I looked at your body language, I could tell the difference between maybe the day before you were more comfortable, now you're on the edge. What happened this morning? That's data happening there because you're processing things. You're also looking at things like historically, historic data. You're using historic data with current data to kind of get some facts on what the future might look like or what people do in terms of right now. And for me, because I'm very analytical, which can be a good and bad thing at the same time, it's very important when it comes to decision making on anything you're trying to do. Like, especially when you're also very strategic in things that you actually do.
Yeah.
So now going to the question that I was going to ask when Emmanuel was talking about, how people use data and how they process data, which almost gave the idea that anybody could analyze data.
Yeah.
Is that true? Can anybody be good at analyzing data?
Okay, you want me to go?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is it. Like, I will start with humans generally at the very, very low level. What makes the difference would be knowledge, understanding, and experience.
So knowledge.
I'm going to put knowledge and understanding together and experience separates. Okay? Because you have to understand whatever you know very well.
Yeah.
To action. Yeah, and then when mixed with experience, you know how. So I'll put, for instance, we have two doctors. What makes one better than the other? Because it's still decision. Even though, yes, it's a hand skill, maybe they are surgeons or whatever. But over time, where they have gotten to is as a result of the decisions they have made. with the knowledge, the understanding that they have. Then what makes one better is probably the experience, the things that they have known, which is still knowledge in a way, but mixed with time. That's what it is. So when we go into the data world, now we're looking at data analysis. There are tools to use. What makes one better than the other? It's how they are able to utilize those tools, which come from learning knowledge, which come from understanding those things properly. That's only understanding together. And then the years of experience to be able to analyze the data with those tools. So how you get better is with knowledge that you have, growing in knowledge and understanding, and in experience. I think that's what it's at the lowest for. So let me just. I want to come into this from kind of like a different perspective. So I think the question was, can anyone analyze data and can anyone be good at analyzing data? I think the answer to the first question is yes. Everyone can analyze data, but not everyone can be good at analyzing data. I think just the fact that a lot of people make bad decisions in life is already an example that everyone can't be good at analyzing data, because you know that you see something, there's a chance that is not going to work out, you do it anyway. That's very, very poor analysis. So yeah, just to answer that, just come from a different perspective. Everyone can analyze data, but
Not everyone. So I think it kind of goes back to what Emmanuel was saying in terms of you have to have the knowledge, which is kind of like the know-how, the experience. That you have to understand how it works, because that's true. Because when we had the first episode, I talked about the fact that one of the things that I'm blessed with is the way I think.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, I think other people should be able to think the way I think.
Yes.
Because some things just look very simple.
Yeah, easy.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
For me, it seems like you should know this, right? So when it comes to, the point Osade is making that not everybody can be good, it obviously means that regardless of how much information people are processing, they're not that good at breaking the information down to make use of it, to make decisions, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes if I ask now, what are you observing? Not everybody's observing what I'm observing, right?
Yeah.
Not everyone's thinking what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Now, some people don't even observe at all.
At all.
Right? They don't even, the information is going in, but it probably will take you a lot to get it out to say, did you notice that he was sitting this way? Did you notice his hand was this way? Like, some people don't actually do any observation whatsoever. So that already puts them on the back foot, right? So making decisions in business is probably likely going to be the same, because if you're not someone who's good at analyzing information in general, then you're likely not going to be able to understand what you need to do for your business, because you're not just that good at, gathering information, no matter how much you read and stuff. So if we go to the interesting one now, we've talked about what data is, analyzing data and all. There is a big rush right now on data analysis, even like professionally. A lot of people are going into data analysis, right? A lot of businesses are big on helping, make, data informed, data driven decisions. It's a very big thing in the market now. And a lot of people are trying to get that skill. Do businesses, especially those who are starting out or who are at a certain point, medium term, need data analysis or a data analyst as an actual role?
Okay, so the first question is the process. Do they need data analysis? I'd say yes. Just because there's something that people say which the data doesn't lie, right? The facts don't lie. Now, when you start a business and entrepreneur, you kind of see that business as your baby. Until that fact, you can tend to get sentimental over certain things. For example, if you're maybe designing your logo and you just love a particular style, but the data is telling you that that style is not good. But because you're being sentimental, if you don't have that data, or if you don't have someone telling you that this thing is not going to perform well because historically it hasn't performed well, you're going to just hold on to that fact, being sentimental, push it out to market, and then start wondering why you failed. So it's things like this that you need data analysis, just to kind of get your head in a very good mental space, or clear all the sentiments, so you're able to really see what you need to be doing at any point in time. And second is, does everyone need a data analyst? I'd say you get to a certain point where you in fact need a data analyst. Now, data analysis, as I said, everyone can do data analysis, but when you start to get to some kind of strategic decisions, and one of the problems with having someone that's not a data analyst doing data analysis is that people tend to over collect data. For example, I've been told that I need to speak into this mic. So I'm looking at this mic, I've seen this mic, so I know that I actually face this angle. But while I'm looking at this mic, I'm seeing everything. So when I start to say, okay, wow, look at this table, look at this light, I've shifted my attention point this thing. So because my eyes are collecting all the data, I no longer focused on the goal. Again, which boils down to when you're saying this is my baby, you want to be doing different things. So you're collecting data on different. You don't know how to streamline that data to just solve a particular problem. We're trying to make a particular decision. It's not all the data in the world you need to collect. You need to collect specific data. You can collect a lot, and I use that analyze amount of data. Look at this bar chart. It's territory. Look how it's going up. It's going down. Okay, does it really help? So you need the data analyst because with their knowledge or with their expertise is kind of now knowing the kind of data they need to be gathering, how to use that data they have gathered to help you to make a particular decision, not just decisions in general, a particular decision that you need at a particular time. So yes, I believe data analysis is very necessary, and when you get to a point, you need a data analyst to start to handle that thing.
I think the interesting thing that you said now, which usually would happen to startup owners and people starting out this entrepreneurship journey, is that bit of it's my baby. So it's almost like they can't like separate facts from emotions. Yes. Right. So they're so driven on just pursuing this thing that they're not actually thinking, okay, would anybody want to have this product or this service?
Yeah.
Right. Like you said, if I wanted my website to be all red, like what does red do to the eyes? Have you done any kind of, research to gather information to talk about having an all red website? Because in the UK, for instance, when you're watching TV, there's a thing they always advertise on certain shows. If that particular maybe episode or something has flashes, they would say, just to be warned that anybody who has epilepsy or is photosens, like this particular would flash. So if it flashes, you kind of know beforehand that if you have a child or if you're someone that would have a seizure. And I'm sure they only get to know that through data. There must have been previous complaints, people ringing in to say someone who's epileptic had a seizure. So they announced that upfront due to the fact that they've had that amount of information. So it's something like that. But when you're that person starting, you don't necessarily see, regardless of whether you're technical or not, you don't. And I think it's something that most startup owners should really pay attention to, that the importance of data can shorten the amount of time it takes you to succeed at something, right? Because if you are just, I'm just going to do, information is everywhere. It's not until it's on your screen. You've seen a process that is not working. It's not rocket science for you to know that I need to switch up my strategy. I need to change that process, right? But they get so fixated on that whole, like you said, sentimental, emotional at the very beginning, which for me, you only learn after a while that at some point you have to be quite logical in the approach. You have to be a little bit, your headspace has to, be a bit like, okay, I need information to make decisions, right? And then number two, which is now the bit about needing actually a data analyst, someone who this is what they do, and they are very good at, I guess, collecting the right information to help make the right decisions, as opposed to collecting everything. So it's one of the things that I'm always asking for is information on productivity. Now, whilst I don't spend time, looking into that and understanding that, obviously you tend to work on that with Osaze, you guys kind of look. So talk me through the process of when you actually look at work from productivity standpoint. And the reason I'm asking this question is a lot of startups, people who have started employing people probably want to know, especially if they're working remotely, how best to get their teams productive. What is it that they need to be aware of? What is it that they need to maybe train the team on to get them working more effectively? So yeah, just give a perspective of what that.
Okay, I'll start from the project Scrum Master standpoint. I feel the mindset behind productivity is the amount of work you put out at the time. I feel people tend to confuse it because at the end of the day, the quality matters. So something I've been able to develop with the team is know that the I need to reduce the workload everyone is working on, and I get that from data. Like Osco helps me out with the analysis from Jira, so I get to review the team, what they're working on, has the highest workload, and how we can reallocate these tasks. Because at the end of the day, I don't want just rush the process and just deliver a product at some certain timeline or some certain due date and not bring the very best of that product. I want to deliver the very best, and that's so we get to retain our customers, we get to improve our services. So we don't want someone working on too many tasks, too many projects at the same time. So what data does for productivity in regards to what we do, what I do is get to reduce tasks. Like let people focus on I'm doing this. Let's be done with this first, and then we'll move to the next. Then it's
So what kind of information do you look at to provide to me, for instance, when you're doing that analysis? What kind of information are you looking at to say, okay, look, to let me know
Yeah.
that maybe this is what we need to be working on to get the team more productive and getting our quality work?
I feel first and foremost, I would like to bring in the essence of we are very big on agile and Scrum, so I would like to bring in the need of like enhancing more of our use of the please, I just sorry. We're very big on agile and Scrum practice. So with this, we want to make use of the Bondan charts, the through this we get and the velocity chart too. So through this we get to know the amount of tasks the team can handle in a certain sprint. Like so, we won't overburden the team, and so we have sprint points and user points. Sorry, user point we use to reallocate the team to a certain sprint. We want to carry out the sprint for 2 weeks, so we are going instead of doing some carrying out the point of like 15, we are used to 12. So instead we stick to 12. And if you can deliver that product at the right time, fine. If we can't finish, we don't want to stress or try to produce something at the end of the day that is not really efficient. We'll likely just drop that and bring out what we have.
So do you spot underperformers when you go through this data?
Yeah, you can. You get to know. We've at the beginning of every sprint, we want we have, like you said, you've always emphasized on having like a view of the bigger picture. We're looking at the project not just from the bidding phase you're on, like having a clearer picture. So for a sprint, we want to carry out a sprint for 2 weeks, and we know that this is what we are doing at the end of the day. So we velocity charts, we get to bonus charts, we get to figure out tasks we're doing. Are we completing enough tasks? So that we get to know if someone is underperforming. We get to have a meeting with the team to review this process, and this is the help of data. It becomes really really easy. So yeah, this is
Okay, so Sazi, on that note, like obviously you work on that data. So from your perspective, what do you look at when you're actually doing that analysis on Jira? Like what are the kind of things you're looking at to help the organization kind of move?
Okay, so Jira was a bit complicated. I had to keep refining it because again, Jira has their own query language or JQL, which meant again I had to be really good at knowing what I wanted to get. So I could not just get all the information. I had to be good at what I get. So basically, I was trying to get the data that would be necessary for me to know how many people are working on a particular project, how many tasks are being done in a particular project, what project is taking the highest number of workload or the highest number of time, highest number of assignees. Then moving down to each person, how many tasks has the person done altogether? How many projects have they worked on altogether? How many have they completed? how many are not completed, how many is in progress, just so you can kind of see how everyone is performing. And the way it's kind of configured is you can move across time span. So that was one of the big things. So you can see the trend of how someone is performing from a particular time to a particular time. Again, that also data goes, okay, if someone in the month of March performed really high, then you go to May and then you see that the person's performance has dropped. You go to the next month, it has increased again. You can now say, okay, the month of May, this person didn't perform well. Why didn't this person perform well? So it's just zoning in. The main part is zoning into each employee to kind of understand how each person is working, their work pattern, and if they're being overloaded, and just their overall productivity.
Okay. Mano, what's your take on that in terms of productivity and how that can be enhanced?
Okay, so in terms of productivity, like one of the major things that a management and operation consultant would do is to enhance systems and optimize processes. So I'm looking at the business, and with this information that Osaze and even the project manager provide, I want to be able to go to the whole system and look, okay, what this can we do? And for Jira, when we talk about Jira, I think that's just one level of saying, okay, these are number of tasks, because you cannot use only tasks to say this person performed well, because some people can be working on 4 tasks for a period of 2 months, depending. So what we look at is the quality of work, how they're able to interact within the team, and that is why we do performance management. So in the performance management, we check things like communication, teamwork, result-driven, problem solving, and then bringing Jira also part of it to say, okay, you did this amount of tasks for this amount of time, you're able to complete the job. So all of these data would help us. I wouldn't say even with the data, it's not still final, but they are a very, very good way to track the progress of people or track the productivity of the team and each and every employee in the team. So generally, this is the advantage of data, to be factual and not just use your say, oh, I don't think that this person is doing well. What's your basis for saying this person is not your bro? We go back to data to check different KPIs as key performance indicators that we have decide to help us track the progress of that person. I think that's the idea.
So is Jira easy to integrate to things like Power BI, for those who are into data analysis, or is it its own standalone? How do you go about like extracting that data and then visualizing that whole thing?
Thank you. So I just say, me personally, I don't like to do. I try to cut down my work as much as possible. That's true. So if I find a way to cut down my work eventually over a long span, I rather do 24 hours of work for 3 days, and I know that I'm going to be chilling for the next 3 months. So when I started the reporting for Jira, there was no communication. We had to download it in an Excel file and move it to Power BI, move it to Power Query, clean the data, and then move it to Power BI, do the graphs, things like that. But it was doing that every week, because the reporting is every week. Doing that every week was tiring. My whole Friday mornings, I've spent it just working on Jira. So I said it has to be a better way. What I did now is I found out that Excel, which is very good because Microsoft has really integrated Jira and the whole ecosystem into their services. So what Excel has done is they have an addition where you can sort of query your Jira board from Excel. So you can just type in the query in Jira query language or what you want, and then everything is going to import straight to your Excel. Now that Excel is in SharePoint, which is kind of what we're talking about, the whole central. We want everything to, because before it was on my laptop, but when we said we want everything to be together, we moved it to SharePoint. And that SharePoint is connected to the Power BI. So with the Power BI, what that has kind of done is I have done all the data cleaning necessary in Power Query. So now when I refresh that data, I don't need to work on it again. Power Query just puts in all my queries on the new data, and then it just kind of all clean. Then with the dashboard or the reports, I've set all the graphs. So you can kind of see it as when you refresh data, all you need to do is just go to your Power BI service, hit on refresh, and then you just kind of see the graphs change to the whole thing. So now again, because the data is all the data. Just depending on what you pick. You can pick data for the past 7 days. You can pick data for so I like to use data for everything and then kind of control it from the reports. Just so again you can kind of see the progress between people across months. You can see the progress in overall across months as well.
That's interesting. I remember asking him, I said, there was a time I said, you need to go on Empire Career. You need to learn Empire Career. So you understand it from what you do now.
Yes.
Yeah.
You told me to do the same thing.
Yeah. I was very fussy on it because the thing is, Excel is like the traditional thing that I know. I don't know all this other bits that you've talked about and how you connected and all that kind of stuff. I just know like the Excel. So if you ask the old school people, it's like how do you want to put it? It's like cutting wood with like manual saw, and not knowing that there's like snacks, chain, yeah, and all that kind of stuff. That's basically how some people still think of it. They will still have to query an Excel file, and not do all this, which is what you were doing previously, to then think about, okay, which is why our Kaizen kind of philosophy kind of works, which is always looking for improvement. But let's hone in on, in terms of performance now, when you're looking at operations and management, what kind of data would you be looking for, and how do you approach that to say, okay, you know what, we are people driven, which means we're big on the growth of our resources and every person in Simpleton. So outside task performance, which is what Jira and all this is, people's growth and people's performance, generally, what is your perspective on how organizations can help their teams become more productive through that line?
Okay, so I will say the word I would just use is a well-structured performance management, performance measurements. And I said well-structured because you when you check about performance measurement, you see a lot of, and you might be confused. But again, it needs to be customized in the sense that you want to understand your team, like we were talking the other time, talking about culture, how we work here, and how that can be converted into a performance measure. So for generally, you want to check communication. How do you communicate? Because that's very important. Whatever you are doing, how you communicate is really important to be able to pass on clear information for people to understand. And whatever project you're dealing with, communication is necessary. We also have result driven. These are like pillars that we use to check or use to measure, or KPIs used to measure someone's performance and also help them to develop. We look at problem solving. We look at innovation. Are they innovative? We look at initiative. Are they able to take on initiative to do something without being told? We look at another thing we look at is teamwork. How they're able to work within a team. After doing all of this, as people, as we are driven to help people grow, we would also prefer some areas of improvement for them, and also tell them like, okay, you should go and learn this to improve on this, and that follow continuously. If they follow through with that process, we definitely develop them and make them better at whatever they're doing in their work and personally. So that's one of the ways to ensure that that is done. But when you want to look at processes of the business, I think almost all the data is necessary. Social media, when we go out for maybe an event, we want to know the data. We did Simpletin internship, we want to understand the data so that we can integrate and the Kaizen model to continuously improve effectively. You must utilize data. So we were here because what calls for improvement is that you have a good understanding of where you were before, and then utilize that information of where you were to say, okay, what can we do better? But it takes us back to the analytic mindset. And I wanted to say something when you were talking about thinking the way you think. I was going to say you can actually teach people to think the way you think, to observe the way you observe. That's why we're talking about.
Well, I'm in the process of creating a model.
Exactly.
As you said that,
Yeah,
it's been on my mind for like
to think the way you think and observe. So when we are looking all of that for the process, most of the data that he does is necessary. I think recently we were talking about how that we need to do data for the internship process. Yes, as I was speaking. So we want to maybe enhance the exams or the test. We want to enhance maybe how we ask the questions. We need to understand what has been done And the only way to understand is through data. Now, this happens in every way. The process, how we improve processes, we must know what is going on best. Then we analytically observe to improve. That's what.
So you have to have a place for the raw facts.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Now you mentioned social media, which is one big thing that we've been working on for quite a while.
Okay.
Now I don't know a lot about the technicalities. I know Osazi is always explaining in meetings what they mean. I think I want to understand what your perspective was like coming in to an organization that wanted a lot of data analysis on, social media, marketing, for instance. How do you, because I know a lot of people start their career as data analyst, but it's this kind of thing is not what they see coming. So what was your perspective as somebody in that career space coming in? And I guess what was the learning to be able to kind of adapt to getting that work going?
Okay. So social media is a bit complicated just because we're feeding content to human beings. And human beings as spirituals, we're complicated beings. We're not black and white. So we have emotions. We're emotional beings. We can change. Our tastes can change. What I was looking for on social media 5 years ago is not the same content I'm looking for now. So just because of that fact that humans are complex human beings and you're literally delivering content to satisfy these very complicated people, you need data analysis. First of all, let's establish that part. And now being able to do that analysis in a way that will be beneficial, in a way that will grow engagement, is kind of tough. So when I started, I remember I just get the data, did the analysis, look, just tell you what I noticed, and then I just end it there. But then there was something he said that, okay, so what do we do? Which is the main part of the analysis. You're not making analysis to see 25% of people enjoy this post, 20% of people don't like this post. Like, okay, fine. What do we do? Where do we go from here? Making your recommendations, which is kind of the tough part, because now you have to sit down with your insights and do some critical thinking, which is again why I'd say that as a business, you need a data analyst to do this kind of work. So critical thinking in the sense that you need to identify patterns. So when something happens one time, it may be an outlier, it may be an exception. When something happens twice, okay, when something happens 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, you can begin to make up a pattern. And the thing about social media is that not everything is a pattern. You may see something, think it's a pattern, but then in actuality, when you now try to make a decision on that pattern that you saw, what you thought was a pattern does not work out. For example, I'm told I should talking to this mic, right? Yeah, I can as well interpret that as I'm told I should talking to this orange thing. Now I'm seeing another orange table here. So I can assume that, okay, this is also orange. If I talk into this table, my sound will be amplified, which is not in fact correct. But because I identified the pattern, I just work based on that pattern. So at the beginning, and even right now, is a lot of experimenting. You may not always get the right pattern, but as you begin to move forward, you can now begin to identify what patterns you know will work and what patterns you know that are just coincidences, right? So again, let me try to bring this down the line to LinkedIn and talk about my process. LinkedIn has done a very good job in giving information to analysts. So they have this whole analyst view of the page. When I go to open my links and go to the Simpletin page, I don't see our posts. I only see metrics. So they've done a good job on telling us what's data that we need. And the data is perfectly categorized into different aspects. So demographics, they give you data for location, give you data on age, give you data on the jobs that people are, your audience are categorized in, and then they give data on metrics. So you know exactly what you're looking for. You know where to find it. It's very easy to find it. Now, the next step is, how do you make sense of the data? You have the figures, you're seeing the numbers, you're seeing the text, or next. So my process again, because I've kind of established that approach of just Excel, Power Query, Power BI, and then go on from there. So from the Excel again, which is now in the SharePoint. Before, what I was doing was I was pulling that data every 2 weeks, and then I will delete the database of the Power BI because the charts are already there, but then I'll delete the data of the Power BI and then put in this new data, which was kind of hectic because it was just not a good process. Because when I changed the database of the Power BI, all the branding I've done for the reporting is just gone. I have to start changing colors, start making everything to look Simpleton like. So again, I had to sit down. There's a better way to do this, obviously. So I kind of took the approach of what I use for Jira in terms of timing. So instead of picking data in 2 weeks isolation, I just said, okay, I'm just going to put all the data in one place. So there's one Excel sheet now. When I pull data from LinkedIn, it just adds to that Excel sheet. Now we have data from going way back to when I started putting data to now in one Excel sheet. And then there's a filter, added a filter to the Power BI. So now if you want to look at 2 weeks, you just tweak your filter to look at next 2 weeks and then everything normalizes. So with that now, I've made that whole process of taking data in isolation. And then with that, you can also kind of see comparative analysis. So in the last month, in March, again, like I was talking about the Jira, you had a lot of engagement, but it kind of reduced this month. So what was the difference? You get some insight from there as well. So moving on from that, when you've cleaned the data, done the whole reporting, the next thing is providing insights. So insights are easy. I believe looking at a graph, you can kind of just see what the graph is telling you. This is going up. You can put your mouse on it and see by how many percent exactly is going up. So insights are easy. The hard part is making recommendations. So what I've done is I kind of experimented with different patterns. So for example, if I see, okay, let me start getting into the metrics. So there's the metrics of impressions. And what LinkedIn has done is they give you the metrics for a general audience and they give you the metrics for your followers. So you're able to see how your content did with everyone and you're able to see how your content did with followers. So if you see content that's when you kind of see content that did well with everyone but did not do well with your followers, you pick that out. You see content that did not do well with everyone but does well with your followers, repeat that as well. So the goal is always to kind of find some correlation whereby you're producing content that is doing well with your already established audience, but is also doing well with other audience. Because the aim is to increase. Why in the process of increasing, you don't want to lose the people you've already gathered. So the aim is to find that correlation, that sweet spot between the engaging post for the general audience, engaging post for the audience, and then just stick to that place, which is kind of what we found out for certain areas. For example, the branding. We've seen that when we post things about our brand, just give the audience into a clue of what it feels like to be a Simpleton, our outings. Those posts, they do well with our followers, they do well with the general audience. So we've kind of started that way and we've seen that growth. So it's just about identifying this kind of posts across all the experimentation that you're trying. So we have a content strategy. There was a point where I was advocating that we do polls because I've seen on LinkedIn, I've seen polls perform very well on LinkedIn. We did it once, it didn't work. Said, okay, I guess there once maybe an exception. Maybe we didn't just post it at the right time or the right day. We did it twice, we did it 3 times, so that the engagement was low. We say, okay, this is not working out. We've seen the pattern that our audience are not relating with our polls.
It could be a right now situation here as opposed to not working at all. So, but at least you get to know based on what you're saying. Nah, it's not working. Let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on to a different thing. So identifying what's not working and just moving on from that fast to what is working. We also saw the post about talking about trending topics like automation or data analysis. So I saw that once. No, sorry, I saw that twice on one report that I did. I saw the spike in two different places. I'm like, okay, what's this spike? What was posted on this day that caused the spike? And then I saw that one was talking about automation, and I was talking about data analysis. I said, okay, let's dive into this further and see. So that week, I recommended that let's post about more trending topics. We posted about more trending topics, and sure enough, I saw spikes again when we posted it. So now you can kind of see now, that's a pattern. So we have identified posts about branding, we have posts about talking about trending topics. So you can see little by little, we are beginning to build our content structure of what is actually being engaged. So when you don't have this data, you're just posting what comes to your head. Now, if you're posting what people do not want to see, it's not rocket science. Your posts are not going to get engagement. Your posts are not going to do well. So you need this thing to kind of just align you so that you know exactly what you should be posting, when you should be posting that thing. You know exactly what to be posting, when you should not posting that thing. Now we're experimenting with videos because we do not have a lot of videos. Which we're having another reporting tomorrow, which I'm going to give some insights into. I think collections is that so when in terms of videos now, so this is another aspect of social media, which again I said is very complicated. It may not necessarily be the whole thing that you should scrap. So when we started with the polls, we saw that the polls didn't do well the first time. I said, okay, let's change strategy, not completely, but let's change it so that we make the polls to be easier to answer. Because remember the first polls, the options were very like sentences. I saw the post and I wasn't able to, it didn't capture my eyes. So I said, okay, let's do that. Let's just make that so it's very easy for someone to just see that and just pick their option. So we kind of switched strategies and then it still didn't work out, which is why I said we should just scrap it out. So now talking about videos, now we're experimenting with different lengths. Generally, because of the whole TikTok, Reels, Shorts, you can kind of know that our attention span is cooked in this generation. So people are more likely to watch short content than long content. Again, which you can kind of see the data. So it was started from TikTok. TikTok was really booming. Everybody saw TikTok introduced that short content in a very large scale. Then you see IG saw the vision and then they created Instagram Reels. Then YouTube saw the vision, they created booty shots. Now LinkedIn has seen the vision, they've created their own as well. So again, that's how they.
Oh, so which one is LinkedIn?
I don't know the making how is. They have Reels now.
Oh, really? It's a good.
Yeah, you go application on the other side. So yeah, I'll just the Reels.
I didn't know that.
So again, that's how they've looked at data from other people, which is now, well, let me just get to that part as well. So it's not just about understanding your data. It should kind of look at other people. If you're analyzing data in isolation, you're hindering yourself from a world of insights that is outside the isolation. So that is again knowing the sweet spots between over collecting data and under collecting data. If I just keep analyzing the data just from within us, there's a certain cap that we may not meet because we may not be open to new ideas. But by the time I go to another consulting company or I go to another somebody that's doing something similar and I see what they are posting is very different from what we're doing and it's performing very well, we can now kind of adopt that, see how that resonates with our own audience. And then so now we're getting fresh ideas, fresh content. It's not just the same branding, the same topics, you're just doing every day. Quite at a point, it's but you're going to run out of things. You're always going to get bored and you're going to see the engagement grow, despite the fact that he was performing well at first. Because again, we're very complex people. If every day you open your phone and you're just seeing content about maybe a guitar, and every day you're just opening that same guitar, at a point you're going to say, people have any Latin to talk about, and you may just, your engagement may decrease on that guitar, but meanwhile at the beginning you like that guitar. So social media is all about coming up with fresh ideas. Sometimes you have to get inspiration from other people that are doing, kind of reverse engineer their process, look at how they came up with that, and then integrate that into your own thought process. So working closely with the media and content strategists, working closely with the content creator, with the graphic designer, okay, let's try this fresh idea, let's try this fresh idea, let's try this fresh idea. Social media has to do with a lot of experimentation, but your experimentation should always be guided. You should not just experiment from the fact that you just keep exploring different things just because you're thinking about random things. Your experimentation should be guided the fact that, okay, you saw that this worked for this person, let's try it for ourselves. So that's just my process for our social media, building our social media. So just looking at our own data, looking at data outside, just combining that so that we're able to keep delivering fresh content rather to our audience, and then we know exactly what to give to our audience at what specific time, so that it always has that high conversion rates, we're able to see that engagement rise.
That's been an intense, value-packed information by Osaze, and I'm sure a lot of you understand what you're saying. Yes, I know there are a lot of technical things in there, but as a business, especially as someone starting out, you do need this data analysis. So if you want to grow your business online, your social media space, and you want to do some fantastic work on social media analysis, you know where to go. www.simpletinconsulting.com. Book your free business growth session, and the team will be here to fuel your growth journey. We're always here every time. So please subscribe, share, and let everyone know. Make your comments as well. And don't forget to join us on our LinkedIn page and also on IG. Thank you very much.